Arsène Lupin, Gentleman Burglar, Episode 2, Lupin vs. the False Lawyer. Welcome back, Detective. Last time, we witnessed Arsène Lupin's brilliant escape from the Provence, but you might be wondering, can such audacity go unpunished forever? Today's case will answer that question in the most unexpected way. What happens when the world's greatest thief finally gets caught? Does prison contain him? Or does it simply become his newest stage for even more outrageous crimes? Picture this: November 1905, just months after the ocean liner incident. Thanks to an anonymous tip, possibly from a rival criminal, French police finally cornered Lupin in a Parisian apartment. After a dramatic rooftop chase across Montmartre, he's captured, shackled, and thrown into the notorious Santé Prison to await trial. The newspapers celebrate. Arsène Lupin caught at last. The gentleman burglar's reign of crime ends. But here's what should make you suspicious. My apprentice, Lupin, doesn't resist arrest. He smiles throughout his capture, as if this is all part of some elaborate plan. What kind of criminal smiles when being thrown into France's most secure prison? What could he possibly gain from imprisonment? The trial becomes the sensation of Paris. Every seat in the courtroom fills with aristocrats, journalists, and curious citizens hoping to glimpse the legendary thief. I'm there too, having been summoned as a witness to testify about the ocean liner case. And there, in the defendant's box, sits Lupin, immaculately dressed despite his chains, looking more like a guest at a society party than a prisoner facing 20 years of hard labor. The prosecution presents an overwhelming case. Dozens of unsolved robberies, witness testimonies, recovered stolen goods traced to his network. The evidence is damning, irrefutable. Victory seems certain. But notice Lupin's expression. Detective, he looks almost ... bored. Why would a man facing decades in prison appear so utterly unconcerned? Then comes a dramatic interruption. Your Honor, a distinguished lawyer in an expensive suit leaps to his feet. I am Marta Daniger, counsel for the defense, and I must protest these proceedings. The courtroom erupts in whispers. No one knew Lupin had hired legal representation. Where did this lawyer come from? Maitre Daniger is impressive, silver-haired, authoritative, with a voice that commands attention. He presents a brilliant defense, systematically destroying the prosecution's timeline, questioning witness credibility, suggesting alternative suspects for each crime. My client, he declares passionately, is a victim of his own reputation. Every unsolved theft in France is now attributed to Arsène Lupin, whether he committed it or not. The prosecution fights back fiercely, but Daniger seems always one step ahead. He produces alibis, challenges evidence handling procedures, even hints at police corruption. The trial drags on for weeks, and public opinion begins to shift. Could Lupin actually be innocent of some charges? Could he be taking blame for others' crimes? But here's where your detective skills become crucial. Does any of this feel right to you? A master criminal suddenly has a brilliant, expensive lawyer appear from nowhere. A man who never needed help before suddenly accepts representation. What's really happening in this courtroom? Meanwhile, something extraordinary occurs outside the trial. Wealthy families across Paris begin reporting new robberies. The Baron de Hautrec's diamond collection vanishes. The Duchess de Crécy's emeralds disappear. The banker Jaboy loses his prized Rubens painting. All these thefts occur while Lupin sits locked in his prison cell, with dozens of witnesses and guards confirming he never left. The newspapers explode with confusion. Lupin strikes while imprisoned. Is there a second Lupin? Some suggest he has an accomplice. Others whisper about supernatural powers. The police commissioner demands increased security. But the thefts continue with Lupin's signature style. No forced entry, no violence. Items taken with almost artistic precision. I visit Lupin in prison, desperate for answers. He receives me in his cell with the courtesy of a host welcoming a guest to his salon. "Ah, my dear detective friend from the ship. How delightful to see you again. Tell me, are you enjoying the show?" His smile is infuriating in its confidence. "How are you doing this?" I demand. "You're locked in a cell with constant surveillance." Lupin's eyes twinkle with amusement. Am I? Or perhaps the question you should ask is different. Perhaps you should wonder, who benefits from these crimes being attributed to me while I'm safely imprisoned? Think about this riddle, detective. What could Lupin gain from crimes committed in his name while he's in custody? How does it help him to have more charges piled onto his case when he's already facing decades in prison? Unless there's something we're not seeing, the trial reaches its climax. Maitre Daniger delivers a magnificent closing argument that brings tears to spectators' eyes. Gentlemen of the jury, you must ask yourselves, is this man a criminal mastermind, or simply a convenient scapegoat for police failures? The prosecution cannot even prove he's in Paris during half these alleged crimes. The jury looks troubled, uncertain. Then comes the prosecution's devastating counterattack. They present new evidence about the recent robberies, items recovered with Lupin's fingerprints, notes in his handwriting, witnesses who saw someone matching his description. How can this be possible when he's been locked in Santé Prison? But watch what happens next. The judge demands Lupin explain these impossibilities. Our gentleman thief stands, his chains rattling, and smiles broadly. Your Honor, I believe the court deserves the truth. And the truth is really quite simple and amusing. There is no second Lupin. There is no accomplice committing crimes in my name. All those recent robberies, the Baron's diamonds, the Duchess's emeralds, the Rubens painting, I committed every single one of them. The courtroom erupts in chaos. The judge pounds his gavel furiously. But how can this be? Lupin continues over the noise. You see, I've been leaving this prison every night for the past 3 weeks, committing my robberies and returning before dawn. The guards have been watching my cell door constantly, never realizing there's a rather convenient ventilation shaft in the ceiling that connects to the sewer system. The courtroom goes silent with shock. The prison warden leaps up, red-faced, shouting denials. But Lupin calmly describes the exact route through the ventilation shaft into the old Paris sewers, emerging through a grating 3 blocks away. Guards rush to check and return ashen-faced. He's telling the truth. The escape route exists and shows signs of recent use. But the evidence? The prosecutor sputters. Your lawyer's defense, the alibis, the alternative theories. Lupin's smile becomes absolutely radiant. Ah yes, my brilliant attorney Maitre Daniger. Let me introduce you properly. He turns to the silver-haired lawyer who's been defending him for weeks. And this is where everything explodes. My dear apprentice, Maitre Daniger stands, reaches up to his distinguished face, and peels away a masterful disguise. Underneath is a younger man, with dark hair and Lupin's mischievous eyes, his most trusted accomplice, who's been living a double life throughout the entire trial. You see, Lupin explains cheerfully, I needed time to complete certain jobs. What better way than to create an elaborate trial that would occupy everyone's attention? My defense lawyer ensured the proceedings dragged on for weeks, giving me plenty of opportunities for nocturnal adventures. Every night, I'd slip out, commit my robberies, return before dawn, then watch my attorney defend me the next day. Quite efficient, really. The implications hit everyone simultaneously. The entire trial has been a performance. Lupin allowed himself to be caught specifically to create this situation. The anonymous tip that led to his capture. He sent it himself. He turned his own arrest into an opportunity for even greater crimes. But here's the most audacious part. Your Honor, now that I've confessed to these recent robberies, I believe the court should note something important. All the victims, the Baron, the Duchess, the banker, they're criminals themselves. The Baron made his fortune through fraud. The Duchess's jewels were stolen from colonial subjects. The banker's Rubens was acquired illegally. I merely redistributed stolen goods. Furthermore, Lupin continues with theatrical flair. I've donated all proceeds to various Parisian charities, orphanages, hospitals, schools for poor children. The paperwork is being delivered to the newspapers as we speak. So, technically, Your Honor, I'm guilty of burglary, but my victims were criminals, and the money went to innocent children. Quite the legal conundrum, wouldn't you say? The judge looks apoplectic. The prosecutor seems ready to faint. The jury appears completely bewildered. How do you sentence a man who confesses to crimes against criminals that benefited orphans? What's the legal precedent? Before anyone can respond, Lupin makes his final move. I believe this concludes my business here. Thank you all for the entertaining weeks. Gentlemen, he salutes the court, then throws a small smoke bomb that erupts in a cloud of thick grey vapor. When it clears seconds later, both Lupin and the false lawyer have vanished completely. The courtroom erupts into absolute pandemonium. Guards rush in every direction. But witnesses report seeing two men in police uniforms casually walking out the main courthouse doors moments after the smoke cleared. Lupin's escape plan included stealing actual police uniforms and walking out in plain sight while everyone searched for a fleeing prisoner. The newspapers the next day carry the full story: Lupin's confession, the charitable donations, the brilliant double impersonation, the spectacular courtroom escape. Public opinion becomes deeply divided. Is he a criminal or a folk hero? A thief or a champion of the poor? The authorities are humiliated, but even they seem grudgingly impressed by the sheer audacity. I receive a letter that afternoon, delivered by a street urchin who disappears before I can question him. In Lupin's elegant handwriting, "My dear detective friend, I do hope you enjoyed today's performance. The moral of the story: prison cannot hold a man who views walls as suggestions rather than barriers. Until our next encounter, and I promise there will be many, I remain your admiring opponent, Arsène Lupin. P.S. Do consider a career in private investigation. You're wasted testifying in courtrooms. So tell me, apprentice detective, at what point did you suspect Mortar Danager wasn't what he seemed? Should we admire Lupin for stealing from criminals to help orphans, or condemn him for breaking laws regardless of his motives? And most importantly, how do you catch a criminal who can turn his own arrest into an opportunity for even greater crimes? This case reveals another layer of Arsène Lupin's genius. He doesn't just steal jewels and paintings. He steals entire situations, turning disadvantages into advantages through pure audacity and meticulous planning. A prison cell becomes a headquarters, a trial becomes a distraction, and justice itself becomes a performance in his grand theatre of crime. Join me next time for the heralded heist, where Lupin does something unprecedented. He announces exactly what he'll steal, when he'll steal it, and even invites the police to try stopping him. Can even Arsène Lupin pull off a crime when everyone knows it's coming?